Welcome back to another episode of the Azure Enablement Show. And this is the third episode of our short series on how you can deploy Azure Landing Zones using Bicep. Make sure you check out the descriptions for all the resources and link, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. Welcome back. My name is Thomas, and I'm joined by Jan and Jack for the third episode of the Azure Enablement Show on how to deploy your Azure Landing Zones using Bicep. In the last two episodes, we basically established and built all the required Azure Landing Zone platform components, such as the networking, log analytics, the policy assignments, as well as obviously the management group hierarchy. But before we actually go into how we enable the application landing zones and just like the subscriptions for that, can you tell us a little bit what are the differences between the platform and the application landing zones, and are there different types of application landing zones as well?
Yeah, no, fantastic question, Thomas. And if I just share my screen here, I can actually, we actually recently updated our documentation about this. So if you go to the Cloud Adoption Framework page and you go to what is an Azure Landing Zone, if you scroll down here, you'll see that there's a section here called Platform versus Application Landing Zones. So if we just navigate to that part of the document, we actually detail and document what the differences are here. So you're absolutely correct. There is a difference between platform and application landing zones. Platform landing zones would contain the things that we've deployed in previous episodes, like the hub network, logging, the security modules, and automation accounts and those sort of things, and maybe your identity services like Active Directory. And then the application landing zones are where your application or workload teams deploy their workload. So things like Azure Virtual Desktop or the Azure VMware solution or SAP, all of those things would live in here. And there are differing types of application landing zones, whether it's centrally managed, whether it's a technology platform, a bit like Azure VMware solution or Azure Kubernetes service, or whether it's just a standard workload, like a new modern application that doesn't really have a type. It's just a workload. We also have some documentation and some guidance around those.
So thank you very much, Jack, for clarifying the differences between the application and the platform landing zones. So Jan, now since we know this now, can you tell us and show us how we can enable these application or workload landing zones?
Definitely. So I actually prepared this PowerPoint presentation because the thing is that once a platform team has created a subscription, it's not by any means done. So the platform team will need to place the subscription in the correct management group. Can be the co-op or online, or another flavor of the same. They may need to create a virtual network. They need to create configure DNS. They may need to peer the virtual network back to the virtual hub if on-premise connectivity is required. Or they may need to connect it to a virtual WAN, which would amount to basically the same thing. They may need to create a route table and add a user-defined route to connect to either a virtual appliance for firewall services or Azure Firewall for that matter, if we're running a hub virtual network. And they need to create role-based assignments for application team owners to be able to actually access the new landing zone.
Okay, that's great, but that sounds like a lot of individual steps. Do we have an easier way of doing that?
We do actually. We are fortunate enough, and you can see here if you go to the GitHub repo, we do actually have a community contributed module which will do quite a lot of those steps. It's here in Infra as Code, Bicep Orchestration, Hub Peer Spoke. And let's just go to the README here. What it does is it places the subscription in the correct place in the management group hierarchy. It creates a virtual network. It creates a UDR. It creates hub to spoke peering and spoke to hub peering, and or it creates a virtual WAN network connection if it's that kind of scenario. So let me just show you how that works. So the whole README is built up the same as the other modules. So I'll just go to here, and I have my trusty command line here. So I'll copy that. And then I'll go to my Cloud Shell. And actually, I have the subscription, which will play the part of a platform subscription now. completely empty.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'll start the Cloud Shell. And I will run this. And go to hub peer spoke parameters. So you'll notice I already changed some of these parameters in the interest of time. So the top level management group prefix was changed. The subscription, which is a subscription ID of the subscription that needs to go to another management group. Where which management group it needs to go to, the name of the VNet, and the resource ID of the hub virtual network. So that's already been changed. So I now just need to change this to AES and deploy. And that will take between 5 to 10 minutes to deploy.
Okay, absolutely great. So while this actually is deploying, we have seen like all these different modules, right? I want to ask, like, do you create like additional modules or addition to different modules, like, for example, Active Directory, domain controller VMs for the identity module, and much, much more? Are you working on things like that?
We absolutely are working on things like that. However, I want to make a clear delineation, right? So actually, the module that Jan has just showed and deployed started off as a request for an Active Directory module. We very much deem the deployment of Active Directory and the VMs and all of the associated configuration that goes with that as the application side, whereas Azure Landing Zones is very much focused on the platform side. You know, if I asked 3 different customers, what's your setup for Active Directory domain controllers, I'm pretty sure I'd get 3 different answers because everybody's very different. So we don't want to get involved in saying this is what should be done. We want to establish that landing zone subscription, connect its virtual network back to the hub, and make sure the policies are assigned to it to govern what must be true for that landing zone, and then hand it over to maybe the identity team or the Active Directory team in that business to go and do it. But we are creating other orchestration modules to help customers do these more complicated steps that have a lot of individual components in a more seamless one deployment style method.
Well, it sounds absolutely fantastic that we help customers to like accelerate even more, but also, again, like looking at their legacy, right? They already, as you mentioned, they probably have already their structure. They already have a setup for certain things, and obviously we don't want to interfere with that. So that makes absolutely sense.
Okay, so the deployment finished, and now let's go and see what happened. So as you'll notice, we now have the subscription I mentioned before in the AES landing zones.corp. And if we go here, it's created a resource group, and in the resource group is a route table and a VNet, a spoke VNet, and then I'll open the spoke VNet, and you'll notice there is a peering to the hub, which goes both ways, obviously.
Oh, that's fantastic. Again, I love that we can do this all using infrastructure as code, especially Bicep, to deploy all this, and how everything works together from like building the Azure Landing Zones, like the platform ones, as well as the ones for applications and workloads, and that they then even connect together, right? Like the hub and the spoke network. So that's absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Jan, for that demo. Jack, if I now, again, want to go and dive into this and learn more about this, where do I go?
Well, obviously, we've done another 2 episodes before this, right? So if you found the 3rd episode, go and watch number 1 and 2. If not, go and check out the repo at the short link of aka.ms/alz/bicep.
Fantastic. And I know we talked earlier about this. The community can also contribute to this project, right? So can you tell me a little bit how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That module that Jan has just used there, the hub peered spoke, was actually mainly contributed by an external contribution from somebody completely outside of Microsoft, which was fantastic. And if you do have more ideas, or even if you spot a bug, or you would go, hey, how would we do this? You know, you've got a general question, then head to the same repo on the link that we just shared. Go to the issues tab and create a new issue, and you'll see 3 types there: feature requests, questions, and bugs. Select the one that's appropriate to you, and we'll be in touch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jan and Jack, for doing this video series with us. And again, thank you for everyone watching, and make sure you check out aka.ms/adopt.